application process. So at this point, we'll get started. I'd like to both welcome everyone to the CITRIS Seed Funding COVID-19 Response webinar. We're here to put on and share with you a number of key points about the program. Ideally, answer some of your questions through a chat process. We'll respond to as many questions as we can. And we'd like to make sure that people are comfortable moving forward. My name is David Lindeman. I direct the health program at CITRIS and have been serving as a liaison for those of you looking for partners and principal investigators to be involved, as well as get further information around resources, as we're trying to encourage as many people to apply for this program as possible. So we still have several people coming in, so we'll wait just a few more seconds here before we jump into this. But what we would like to do is make sure, again, that we do get your contact information. So if you could send us, and we're seeing in the chat room, a majority of you have already sent us your emails. We would appreciate those. Also, of course, if you don't want any communication, that'd be fine, but we would appreciate sending you updates over the next week of any issues that have arisen that would be of common interest as you're preparing your proposal. We have a fair amount of material we'd like to cover. We can do it very briefly, and then put as much time into questions with you as possible. Two elements: we're recording the webinar in case people need to go back and listen later on or would like to. Second, we are putting the entire slide deck into a PDF format so that you'll be able to readily get the links that we're going to be sharing with you. We have a number of resources and other information to make available. So with that, I'd like to get started so that we can spend as much time answering your questions. Again, if I could, Paula, if you could take us through the first slide. For this program, I'd like to introduce you to our team who's been involved in preparing the program and will be your resource go-to people over the next few weeks as we prepare for submissions on the 24th. Just a few minutes on the CITRIS research ecosystem for those of you who don't know about CITRIS, just to make sure you understand the context in which we're working. We have a few very brief examples of from our seed grant program in the past. We're going to differentiate how some of the programs, what we're looking for in this round, and then specifically take you through the eligibility criteria and specifics around the CITRIS COVID RFP, and how you also some tutorials on how to enter your material, and finally wrap up, as I said, with questions for each of that can come from you. One thing I would like to share as you're thinking about it, please send in on the chat any questions you may have. We'll try to get to as many, if not all of them. Please consider overall questions that could be general for our entire audience today of potential PIs and applicants. We are happy to go offline on one-on-one situations. We know there are a number of those that we will be very happy to cover with you. Next slide, Paula. So we have on the call our fantastic team from CITRIS. In addition to Paula Cott, who's facilitating our meeting today, I am a director for the Health Initiative to facilitate our different programs in health technologies, and I'm serving as liaison. Julie Salmons, our knowledge management director, who has facilitated and brought together this wonderful program. Nathan Gossett, our finance manager, who is the behind the scenes person who helps facilitate getting grants out. And Emily Sawicki, our development coordinator, who has also been doing a fantastic job of collecting resources and helping individuals who are applying for this program. Next slide. So CITRIS itself, we know many of you have been engaged with us for years. Others, this is new. We have a number of individuals we've been talking to who are just hearing about CITRIS for the first time. We have been in existence for almost 20 years, multi-campus, interdisciplinary program, which truly walks the talk of bringing people together across different campuses. Historically, our work in seed grants has actually required individuals to come together across campuses. As you'll As you've already seen, this year we're changing that. We have a very deep, robust research program working in multiple sectors beyond health, and that's why we're anticipating projects related to robotics, data science, different sensor work, et cetera. We cover a very large number of areas, and we have a very robust innovation ecosystem with over 50 startups that have come through our system. We're very pleased that a number of you are in our Foundry cohort and previous Foundry members who are going to be applying. And we have a very robust set of researchers and postdocs working across our campuses, many of whom we've already connected some of you with, and who are are there to help and be potential PIs or work alongside or collaborators on your projects. Next slide, please. So historically, we have funded annually a series of seed grants. We have had great success, and we have those posted on our website. Many of them have gone on to great success, either with additional NIH, NSF, or other federal, state, or philanthropic funding. Many of them have also gone on to launch new companies very rapidly and go through our innovation ecosystem. Here are just a few examples that we have, and we have a number of those programs that we can share with you so you can look at the types of projects that have been funded historically. That said, our seed program this year has clearly pivoted quickly to focus on COVID-19. We have this special call. We want to share that in the fall, we will return and have another seed award process so that you'll be able to apply, for those of you who have considered that or will consider that. And that will be coming out once we get into the fall and we're over this immediate crisis period. Next slide, please. So the COVID-19 response, we assume that the majority of you have been able to open the response, read it. We wanted to just reinforce this is a short-term rapid cycle review. We're looking for applications from across our ecosystem. The grant awards will be up to $50,000. Does not mean you need to request that full amount. We are looking at the fit for resources requested with the type of projects that are being put in. The proposals will be due just a week from this Friday, so we're getting tight on time. The selection process will be reviewed by a multi-campus interdisciplinary team to select programs. The selections will be by May 8th, and we are doing rapid distribution of funds so that they can be distributed to the investigators, start projects immediately. So we have a number of issues on how funds would be distributed based on your position, your campus, et cetera. We're very fortunate that Nathan Gossett champions that and can work with any individual applicants in terms of how that could best be done. If you have specific questions on that after we talk about budget issues, you can take those offline, and Nathan and I can respond to you specifically. Performance period for this RFP is short term. We're really looking for fast implementation projects that can be conducted in a 6-month period or less, projects that will have an impact on COVID-19 from a very practical perspective, ideally long-term impact, whether that's working with NGOs to scale, whether that's working to create a company, or that's going for a deeper research base and being able to get additional research funding to expand the impact of the project. Next slide, please. In terms of eligibility, we want to be sure that it's clear that in this case, we do need to have a principal investigator, somebody who has PI full-time status or provisional status at any of our 4 campuses. Again, that's UC Berkeley, UC Merced, UC Santa Cruz, and UC Davis. Second, each proposal can have more co-investigators if they would like, but in this case, unlike our normal seed grant process, we're only requiring 1 principal investigator. We're trying to make sure this is done as efficiently and easily as possible. In terms of the budget and the application of funds, please note that you cannot use the funds for PI salaries, and in our case, out-of-state tuition for grad students that would be working on it. It's to be used for resources to rapidly move the project along. And again, that the fit for budget is a key issue in terms of how that supports the work you're going to do. We do have several people who have been approached to work on more than one proposal or one submission. Please note that we are limiting it to two proposals, whether you're principal investigator or co-investigator. Please only work on two, and again, be lead PI on a single program. Trying to keep our eligibility criteria very basic from within our system. If you have questions on that or any concerns, please send a quick chat, and or we can work with you one-on-one if it's a specific situation for yourself. The proposal itself is very straightforward. We're trying to make sure that this is as simple and effective as possible, that you can tell your story to the reviewers, and that you can carry through exactly the information to help in the review process. Again, name, campus, department, key issues, project title, obviously. We would appreciate you getting your information across in the abstract in terms of what you are proposing, and again, its impact and applications as much as can be in that abstract. We're limiting narrative to 750 words. Please don't exceed that amount. The reviewers will be assessing it all in the same. We want to look at the same amount of information. We believe that from historical grants that have submitted, you can get your story across in those 750 words and really convince the reviewers of what you are proposing. Please be sure in that narrative to include specifics about the program, resources that you're going to be using, cooperative arrangements, collaborations across any of our campuses or external groups, and as we'll talk about a little bit later, any of our CITRIS resources that we are going to make available to come to the table for you. Key in this application is the impact statement. Please look at that very thoughtfully. That will make a great difference because, again, we are, as we've shared from the beginning, key issue about the COVID-19 proposals is we are looking for impactful projects, projects that can get out of the gate quickly, that will be scalable and have impact on society, whether it's a policy, an intervention, a data process, a specific medical device. We're looking for impact, we're looking for scalability, and we're looking at immediacy, that it can really be implemented thoughtfully and carefully. And so you consider whether it's a supply chain or the process for getting that out or the partners, channels that you're looking for. Please reinforce that. That's a critical part of this proposal. In terms of the potential application, exactly the same issue. In some cases, it will be specifically on COVID-19. We anticipate a number of you may have multiple applications and show how it'll have a greater applications in different settings and for other issues down the road. But please, those two sections, impact and potential applications, will really help differentiate those proposals that rise to the top. In the budget summary, we want to reinforce this is very simple. We're not asking for a formal budget. We would like very straightforward items of how the funds would be spent. You do not have to take it to sponsored projects office on your campus. You do not have to get department approvals from our perspective at this point. We are just looking for how the funds would be spent in a very straightforward fashion and clearly articulate what those resources would be applied to, whether it's staffing, equipment, data, etc. And we are open to having an attachment put in, an illustrative graphic file. We encourage you to do that in a one page, keep it as tight as possible. But we do know that for certain types of concepts, it's helpful to provide a visual, and the reviewers are very open to having that. So those are the key elements on the proposal. If we go to the next slide. In terms of the evaluation criteria, uh, I've already indicated indirectly several of them, but the first four items here are fundamental. Feasibility. Please make sure that you clarify and document how you and what your experience has been and your justification that you can achieve your goals within a 6-month period. While we have a 7-month window, again, the sooner you can show impact, the greater the impact that you have really looked through what either the technology, the technical aspects, the longer term impact. That is a very important point. What is your feasibility? We also want to see the impact, what it's doing in terms of COVID-19. Be very clear that you've identified the key problem set. Obviously, it can go beyond COVID-19, but we would like to know exactly what you are targeting, how you will benefit individuals, whether it be health systems, whether it be providers, whether it be patients, whether it be policies. We would like to see the details of that laid out. The stronger your case, the greater judges will be able to review and give you credit for. Similarly, we are anticipating that these will lead to downstream applications well beyond the 6 months. So please indicate the opportunities you have and you are going to be pursuing for additional funding. Again, whether it's federal, state, philanthropic, or private sector funding, or even donors. Further, could please indicate the channels that you may be working on, whether it can be an open source system, or it can be a concept that you're building into a company, or that you are taking to a larger enterprise. All are equally valid. We're looking for how you are planning to scale, what resources you will see downstream, and how there is, again, legs to your project. And finally, we would like to make sure we reinforce that proposals should align with our CITRIS initiatives. We have 4 primary initiatives, health being one, but equal in terms of sustainable infrastructure. So again, whether it be sensors, smart homes, smart cities, even related to energy climate in that area, whether it's related to our robotics and robots and people program. Some people are looking at different automated and machine learning platforms, and in terms of those major ones, but we also would appreciate anything that aligns with our Policy Institute, with Women in Tech, and with impact for the workforce, since so many issues related to COVID-19 will impact the workforce both currently and in the future. Finally, in terms of the last 2 points, we just want to reinforce that we're making available to everyone research programs and platforms and technical information from the CITRIS system, including our incredible Nano Lab, the INVENTION Lab, and other types of resources that we can provide and you should ask for and include, please, in your proposal if you're going to use that. We have colleagues on the phone today and who will be able to respond offline regarding those assets if you have specific requests. And finally, we are always encouraging early stage faculty to apply. It's not required, but in addition to, they can serve as principal investigator, co-investigators, etc. Always part of our mission is to grow our training and research base and help investigators expand their careers. But we would reinforce the first 4 points and the 2 sections of the proposal on your impact and what will happen further downscale from the results of your work. So with that, if we go to the next slide. We have one final point before I turn it over to my colleague Emily Slowicki to walk you through a few of the points on our platform for how to enter the proposals. But we do want to make sure that you anticipate and you include, where at least briefly address in each case, the potential for publications. We already talked about funding, and particularly if you already have funding in the pipeline. what type of opportunities and companies that may come off of our entrepreneurial efforts may come from this, and that we're going to be making sure that we promote the findings not only through our CITRIS ecosystem, but nationally. We think it's as important to share the stories and the successes as we can. Furthermore, if you are going to be involving students, we would appreciate that being included. We recognize these are not only critical times in our society, but new opportunities for students to really learn and have real world experiences as we're dealing with this. So we have a very simple reporting process. We will ask for a mid-cycle, 3 to 4 months into the process, for just a brief update report, and then ask for a final report at the end. We hope that all projects will move on time. We have seen in the past issues for no-cost extensions, but we are encouraging people to demonstrate that they will be able to hit the ground running, be able to spend the resources and develop their project all within that time frame. And again, the more compressed time frame, the better in terms of being able to benefit individuals in our society. So with that, we'd like to turn to the next slide and turn it over to Emily Sawicki, who will walk you through some of the key points. If you haven't had a chance to get on our portal, we encourage you to do it now rather than wait to the last minute, so that you can understand how to use it and if you have any questions. Emily, please.
Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this webinar. Hope everyone's staying safe at home. I'm just going to take you through a couple of screenshots of our online portal. It's super easy to use. I'm sure most of you have already been to our website. If you have, the homepage has the CITRIS COVID-19 RFP all over it. So it should be easy to navigate to it from the homepage. You could also go through labs and programs and core seed funding at the top menu, and it'll easily direct you to the RFP page. A couple notes on the portal benefits. We use the platform Survey Apply, and it's super manageable for team applications. A lot of multiple PIs can apply to the RFP process. You can add editors for admin support staff to your proposal, submit reporting forms, personal account history. If you've already applied to an award with us previously, that'll all show up in the portal, and no paper submissions or mailings required. This screenshot to the left is just a quick sample of what the application portal looks like. If you're familiar with Google Forms, you're probably familiar with this interface as well. So this is just what our website, our RFP website looks like. If you go to the bottom, there's a button right there that I've circled, COVID-19 Response Application Portal. Super easy to get to. We try to minimize the process. So if there's any suggestions on how the website looks, please feel free to email seeds@citris-uc.org. Again, this is what the beginning of the application looks like. And the first part of the application will be eligibility. So right here, I've kind of outlined that process. So if you are a PI on your campus, you are eligible, and you have to be part of UC Berkeley, UC Davis Health, UC Merced, or UC Santa Cruz. And this is what the application portal will look like once you're eligible. And if you filled out the eligibility questions, you can look to the left and go back to your application portal. So this is what the application portal will look like. Your tasks will be on the right. All of your application forms and everything you've submitted will be checked if you've submitted them. And you can also add collaborators to the left. If you look under my name, there's a spot to add a collaborator if you choose to do so. And I know David went more in depth into what the application calls for, but this is just kind of a sample of what the form will look like. Again, super simple, very much like Google Forms. I'm sure no one will have issues, but if you do have issues, please contact seeds@citris-uc.org. And David, back to you.
Thank you, Emily. Just a few points of suggestions regarding the portal. Number one, as we said before, we'd really encourage people to go into the portal as soon as possible, at least enter your name and title and a little bit more information if you could, simply to make sure that you can get in. You can save any of the material that is put in, as you heard. Furthermore, one of the suggestions we've had in the past, it's often easier to write the sections of the proposal in a different platform, in Word or another word processing platform, and just cut and paste in if you need to. We do not, I don't believe the system cuts you off at the number of words. We do want you to be within that space though. So again, it is easier to prepare and then upload that material. But please do it before the last day. Particularly, we have had people in the past who, for whatever reason, have had trouble getting either into the platform or uploading material, and we want to make sure that everybody has equal opportunity to submit their application. We have a number of additional resources we're making available. In addition, there are other funding streams that we want to make sure everybody on this call learns about. CITRIS is deeply involved in the C3 AI program, a new Berkeley and 5 other campus program focusing on new AI interventions, very large, with funding from $100,000 to $500,000 grants. It is launched, and they have a similar RFP. Their first RFP is focusing on COVID-19. So please, we will give you the link to that. Please consider applying to that. Berkeley is a key lead in that. It primarily focuses on using large data sets, new innovations in data science. In addition, they've created a data lake with very large data sets that are open source, accessible, and some of you may want to look at those now in terms of applying those within the your application for a CITRIS seed grant. You can apply to both, one or the other. They do not have an impact on each other. You can refer to them, but again, this is a major Berkeley program that's being made available to you. We have also heard from Microsoft. Microsoft has just launched its Microsoft AI for Health initiative. There are 5 areas that they're focusing on, or what I've included there. Won't go over them, but they align nicely as well. The Microsoft team has approached us. They are also interested in applicants. In this case, most of the funding is support is through in-kind efforts. They want to see application of their Azure data platform. They're very similar points. However, we have been told by their foundation team that programs that do come into our CITRIS proposal that may have access or want to use the Microsoft platforms or follow their key guidelines could be considered for funding by their foundation. Again, a reason why we encourage everyone to submit to our CITRIS COVID-19 special seed grant program. We in turn, and I'll share this with everyone right now, we will ask permission, but we would look forward to being able to share those projects that are approved but unfunded, because we do have limited resources, that we would like to be able to help promote them to some of our other partners, whether it's industry partners, foundation partners, etc. And we will continue to identify funding sources for all candidates as we go forward. Next slide, please. We have a great deal of information we are trying to make available to you. You can turn again to the RFP website for the example of the sample application. We will once again send this slide deck out today as a PDF with live links to all these areas. Emily has prepared a wonderful FAQ page with some of the key issues, some of the items we've already covered, but some others. And we have a resource list where we've been compiling and linking to many of the other resources, whether it's research databases or funding sources, particularly other funding sources that you may want to consider. If you have specific questions after today's webinar, please do not hesitate to reach out to myself or the entire team at citris-uc.org. We will all be try to respond as quickly as possible to your questions. With that, that brings us to, we have one more set of information I want to share, and that is we want to make sure that, once again, if you do need any of our amazing CITRIS resources, particularly our Invention Lab, the team that could help with production or creation of materials, we would like to have you include that in your proposal, and you feel free to contact the team at your as soon as possible regarding that. Our Nano Lab, again, for those who may be looking at any sensor or the different types of device development, much less resources related to data science or clinical applications, particularly through our team at UC Davis Health, who will be available to also provide technical assistance over the next week and a half. Again, there's resources both on the CITRIS website, on our link to the COVID-19 RFP, and again, even with our individual organizations, as you can see here, a CITRIS Invention Lab. Next slide. And with that, we'd like to open it up to questions. I have a few that I can go through quickly. I'd appreciate it if we are still keeping everybody on mute, but if you have specific questions and could share them in chat, the CITRIS team will raise each of those. I can bring up a few points. A key one that came out right away in terms of the timing for our program. Unfortunately, we have put forward this time frame because of the need for resources, what we have available in terms of the review process. We did want to reach out and get as many applications as possible. We do appreciate that there's an urgency here. That is the reason why, as soon as the decisions are made, we will announce those and get the funding immediately to the awardees. Unfortunately, we cannot adjust the time frame at this point. We want to reinforce, as you can see, the second question, that from Sponsored Projects Office, you do not need to take your proposal to SPO on any campus. It can come in directly. These are being submitted and reviewed separately from our Sponsored Projects Office. There are no indirect rates taken out for any proposal. You do not have to account for those. All the funding for the budget is awarded directly to the investigator and her or his project team. The PIs does not impact the number of, in terms of the review, or impact your eligibility or your score or the scoring criteria in any way. It really depends on the nature of the project and the fit for the project. As we mentioned, you are entitled to have several investigators, but it can be a single PI, which we have a number of proposals that will come in that way, or it could be a collaboration with another investigator, same discipline, different disciplines, and it could be multiple, including across our different CITRIS campuses. Can also indicate that you could have co-investigators from outside the CITRIS system, outside the University of California, but the PI must be within our 4 campuses. Furthermore, the PI should be must be a faculty member or a investigator with PI status. So while we have individuals who are coming in that do not have PI status, we will help find an individual who does have that within the University of California system across our 4 campuses. They must be the principal investigator, but we would assume that with a strong co-investigator or co-PI that who is not in our system, they would create a very good working relationship. If you heard that you cannot hire grad students, that's not correct. It was just in terms of how some of the funding would be applied to their salaries. And I'll let my colleagues jump back in and clarify that perspective. But you can hire grad students, postdocs, other faculty, and again, non-faculty and non-UC individuals. The key issue is that, and I will have to double check on any of the funds going to outside of the UC, but the key issue is they should be applied to working on the project, and the funds cannot go to the PI salary in this case. In terms of references, citations, you may want to consider adding those in as part of the extra visual element. We would encourage you to highlight the primary references, usually that we've seen in the past that most people can get their key references or citations. We understand if there is a very lengthy history or background, you could put that into just an addendum of those, and we could potentially take that to the reviewers for consideration. We have not made arrangements for that, but you could consider that. Right now, you should focus on making sure everything is in the proposal within the platform that we have, because that's what will be the primary review by all the reviewers. Reviewers will be from across the 4 campuses, multiple disciplines, so that there will be objective reviewing done for all applications. Again, UC alumni, founders, and individuals from the Foundry are definitely eligible. We have had those in the past, and we would encourage those. You do need to have, again, PI status, and we can work with you offline about that. There are ways to obtain that. The Invention Lab can be contacted immediately. It's the contact information is on the previous slide. So we have a link to that, and we have colleagues on the line right now from Invention Lab who are listening in, and you can focus on that. We will let you work with the Invention Lab directly in terms of budgeting, saying that with the Nano Lab or any other resource, the Digital Health Resource Center at Davis, the different laboratories or platforms or test beds that you may consider, we would encourage you to reach out to those, and we can help connect you if we need to ahead of time, so you can have a realistic budget plan for that and determine whether they can provide in-kind support, or they have fixed fees, or can make an arrangement with you. And then in terms of the funds, I think we will have to verify funds going to, for example, local clinics or test beds, whether it's a hospital setting, a senior living congregate setting, whether it's a clinic, whether it's a laboratory. Those we will have to look into. I don't have an immediate answer. We will post that on the FAQ. And for those who have specific circumstances, you may want to, I would suggest you speak with us offline on that as soon as possible, because we do want to give you clear guidance on that. We have a raised hand from one of our colleagues, KJ. I take a look, see if we can see that information. And I'm going to open it to my other colleagues from the CITRIS team who would like to make any clarifications or respond to other questions that may have come in.
David, we have another question from Stefano. How many proposals are estimated to get funded?
That is a moving target. We will have the funding available is not large. I don't have an exact answer for you. We are hoping for several. How many that will be depends a great deal on our success in finding matching funding from external sources. We have companies and a foundation who are already going through the process for doing that. So the exact number, I don't want to state. It will be, we hope, more than just a handful. But right now, we're in the process of trying to obtain additional funding. I'd like to reinforce the point that we will also, as I said, be reaching back out to those that are approved but unfunded which we know will be a large number because of there will be a large, from what we've seen already, a large number of individuals interested in applying, that we are going to continue the process to reach out to our partners within the CITRIS ecosystem. One of the advantages of our CITRIS program is we have a large number of companies that we work with. We've had funding from foundations. We even have donors, and we are going to reach out with the portfolio of interested PIs who would like us to look for additional funding, much less we will continue to bring funding opportunities which continue to emerge day after day to you. Again, we would encourage you to continue to look at our resource page as we post more funding opportunities that we're identifying. Some are local, some are national. They are in all different fields. We encourage you all to be looking for multiple funding options at this point.
Okay, I have a few more questions from the chat room. Could a solution be in country, not in the United States?
Solutions can be, yes, absolutely be applied, not just domestically, but internationally. This is a global issue. We are seeing many collaborations emerging across countries with, in fact, that really addresses CITRIS's amazing ecosystem and the beauty of bringing in multiple disciplines, multiple organizations, multiple ways of thinking about problem sets and about new technology solutions. So if you have an international partner or a solution that is coming from a different country, that is equally valid as anything domestically. The key issue would be working within the CITRIS environment and PIs within our 4 campuses.
And who do we speak to offline about if money can go to outside clinics?
Please feel free to reach back to our seed grant link that we have in general, or to me directly. Again, D. Lindemann at citris-uc.org. All the contact information will be in there. Our team will try to respond as quickly as possible, and particularly if there are those one-off questions that may relate to your proposal. Please don't hesitate and do it sooner rather than later in case we have to get an external opinion on that.
And David, just so you know, I've been answering some people privately with email seeds and responding to some of their questions. So, so you have that.
Emily, any that you would say are generic that would help the audience today?
It was just about the funding to outside clinics. I just said what you said out loud, to send it to seeds and let Brenda know that she could email us and we could get back to her.
And we would like to, while anybody else is thinking about any additional questions, really reinforce we value working with you. We have spent many hours talking with a number of you who have, both in terms of your fundamental concepts, your partnerships, helping identify a principal investigator. We have many interested parties in the 4 campuses who have been spectacular and could be hopefully quite useful to you. Do not hesitate. The sooner we can hear from you, the more time we have to connect you with collaborators, whether it be a PI or resources, or for you to look into more information about using any of our CITRIS test beds or resources.
I just want to reiterate before we get too close to ending, if you haven't already put your email in the chat room, please take a moment to do so, so that we can send you the PDF of the presentation and the recordings after today's event.
Thank you for reiterating that, Paula. So again, the recording can be sent to everybody who has sent us their email. We will send it out to the, make it available online. And again, the deck will, Paula and Emily, you can confirm that that will be able to be sent, or whether we post that, or both.
Yes, it will be posted on the RFP website on the homepage as a PDF, so all the links will be working.
Mm-hmm.
We have a few more questions that came in. Can we collaborate with academic members that are not in CITRIS but have a good facility?
Absolutely. One of our goals here is to reach out to the broadest possible network within our UC system to make it available. It is important that they, again, one member of the team be a principal investigator. If they are not CITRIS faculty or CITRIS PI, we can work with those individuals. In fact, our goal would be to expand make it a bigger tent. More individuals that can be involved in CITRIS, the better. It is not a barrier. We are encouraging you to reach out to individuals throughout our UC ecosystem.
Can we work with a startup and somehow share funds?
The immediate answer, I would say, is yes, because we have a number of startups that are going to be applying. How you apply the funds, you should consider very thoughtfully, because it should be shown that it's being used to advance the research, the technology development, the project that you're doing. So it's not just to pay for an external organization. That said, we encourage startups. We see that as a wonderful opportunity. We've seen a number of companies, startups pivot to focus on this, who have very applicable projects and products and technologies. So that can be done. As always, the budget should be thoughtfully put together, that it really supports the work you're going to do.
David,
oh,
sorry.
Nathan, please.
Oh, hi. Hi, all. This is Nathan. I'm the finance manager for CITRIS, and definitely I can help you answer all your funding questions and that sort of thing. I want to let you know that the only way for those who are selected, we transfer the funds to a PI. Once they're at that PI's account, then we would want to know what you're doing with the money. But I just want to reiterate that I would only transfer money to a UC or a CITRIS PI to their account, either off campus at Davis, Santa Cruz, Merced, or Davis Health, or through a journal at UC Berkeley. And then you'd have to figure out what you're doing with it after that. Okay. Thank
you, Nathan. And that would imply that the PI would have to develop the mechanism to share that with non-UC individuals, whether it be a subcontract or some other type of arrangement. But we'll take that all offline, and Nathan is an expert at sharing and giving you feedback on that issue.
David, just one thing before we depart. Kwanju was mentioned in the chat a while ago, just to add any comments for the Invention Lab, and I'll let him say something if he wants to jump in.
Our great colleague at the Invention Lab, Kwanju, is on the line. Please, Kwanju, if you can, any issues related to how they can reach you to work with the Invention Lab.
Yes, hi everyone. This is Kwanju, the lab manager for Invention Lab. As David mentioned, we offer like compilation for any prototype you are interested in producing or trying to, or just want to get an idea of like our facilities. You can email us at kwanju@berkeley.edu, or another email that will reach all our staff member would be inventionlab@citris-uc.org. Yes, so Emily just put the email in the chat. So if you send us an email and then just like describe your your ideas, and then we could set up an office, or we could have a virtual meeting with you to talk about how we could proceed the process. And also, just so you know, the facilities that we have in the lab are a couple of different 3D printers. Most of them are FDM. We also have foam lab, resin printer. We are getting a biocompatible material resin. We also have a laser cutter that we could cut acrylic and not polycarbonate, but some of the shield that people are doing. Some of the PPE material that people are prototyping out there. Yeah.
Thank you, Kwanju. That's extremely helpful. And again, we encourage everyone, if you have an interest in working with the Invention Lab, the Nano Lab, any of our clinics, particularly whether it be at primarily at Davis, but also if we need links to other clinical sites and test beds that we work with, we would encourage you to reach out as soon as possible to get clarification on that. And then if there are funding issues, to get that clarified now rather than waiting till next week.
David, I think we have one last question. For current CITRIS project PIs, do they need to submit a progress report?
That is separate. We can take that offline. That would not necessarily, no, it would not be required before a proposal is submitted. We are encouraging all proposals to come in for this. Obviously, we do want existing CITRIS funded projects to stay up to date on their reporting. But right now we are just interested in this next cohort, being able to get proposals in from as broad a spectrum of interest areas possible, and do that selection and then move forward with that cohort independently. I think unless there are other questions, we appreciate your time. We're already almost near the end of the hour. Just reiterate, please go back over any of the points we've covered. I think we've reinforced the key areas from eligibility, processes for you, but we're here to help you. No questions too small. Please do not hesitate to reach out. We will try to turn around anything within 24 hours, if not sooner. And if you haven't heard from us, please send it back, note back in. We want to make sure we're as responsive as possible. We're excited about these proposals. We know this is a critical time for our society. It's our modest way of helping. We think that from what we've already seen, there's some wonderful concepts here. We look forward to reviewing some fantastic proposals and funding those that we can, and working with all of you and encouraging all of you to keep working in this space. We all have to do our part. So with that, I'll see if my colleagues have any final comments.
No, just again, thank you for participating in this new format. I think it went very well, and thank you all.
Yes, again, thank you. We look forward to your proposals, and please, any questions, we are available to help you out. And again, stay safe and stay well.